everything after her. There was a police car behind us just a few minutes ago, and I'm really glad to see that he didn't have his lights and his sirens on. My wife ran off with a policeman 7 years ago, and I thought that was them bringing her back. Now, as we turn into Victoria Street, we're going to see the Albert Memorial Clock, built in memory of Queen Victoria's late husband, Prince Albert. The clock tower originally cost £2,000 to build, but quite recently we had to spend £2 million having the clock tower repinned at 175 feet. You'll see that the clock tower leans by about 4 feet off the perpendicular, and that's because it stands on top of the river Bursture, and the Victorian foundations have been sinking into the ground since construction. You'll see the statue of Prince Albert halfway up the clock, and he's dressed wearing the robes of the Garter. The clock has also got 4 clock faces, none of which tell the right time. Pretty handy if you're late for work. Now we're going to turn right beside the clock, and as we do so, as we turn, on your right hand side we're going to see McHugh's Pub, one of the oldest pubs in the city, dating back to 1711. But very unfortunately, it's not 1711 prices. And this is a little pub that my little friend Murphy drinks in. And one day, Murphy went in here for a drink and he went missing, and he never came home. And after about 4 years, his wife thought she better report him missing. So she went down to the local police station and she said to the police officer, "I would like to report my husband missing." And he says, "Well, can you give me a description? Can you tell me what he looks like?" And she says, "Yes, he's about 6'6" tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, 56-inch chest, big muscles." And a wee boy standing behind his mummy pulled her skirt, and he says, "Mummy, that doesn't sound like Daddy." And she says, "Who wants him back?" And we'll see McHugh's bar once these traffic lights change. And that's Smith McHugh's Pub coming up here on your right hand side. Then directly in front of us on the quay side of the River Lagan, you'll see the big fish, the salmon of knowledge. Do come down later on and have a look at it. All the scales on the fish tell you different stories about Belfast. And they say that if you kiss the fish, that you get a little bit of knowledge. And looking at you lot, I would say you need to kiss it quite a bit, as you do look rather thick to me. Don't worry, I am going to insult each and every one of you before you get off this bus. Directly in front of us you can see the footbridge that takes you over the River Lagan. Do come down at night time and all the lights from underneath the footbridge shine right across to the Queen Elizabeth Bridge. It's a little bit like Paris at night time. Yeah, right, if you close your eyes. Crossing over the Queen Elizabeth Bridge, we're now leaving County Antrim behind us and making our way across into County Down. And now I want you to look out directly in front of us. We're going to see the Odyssey Arena. Inside here we have the W5, who, what, where, when and why. Hands-on action science for children. Very good, so it is. Many restaurants, cinemas, bars, nightclubs, 10-pin bowling, and at the very end of the building we have our very own 14,000 seating arena. We get all the big pop stars coming here now, the likes of Rod Stewart, Elton John, Dolly Parton. It's also home to our ice hockey team, the Belfast Giants. We were going to call them the Belfast Bombers, but that didn't go down too well. And you can see how good we are. If you look over the wall coming up on your left, there's usually 1 or 2 ambulances sitting here getting ready for tonight's game. We're just about to turn left into the Titanic Quarter, or to give it its original name, Queen's Island. And this at one time was the entrance into the biggest shipyard in the world called Holland of Wolf. The shipyard employed 35,000 men with a further 15,000 worldwide. Coming up in your left hand side, we're going to see a little ship called the SS Nomadic. This was a little tender ship that carried first and second class passengers out of Cherbourg to the Titanic. It was then sold off to a French businessman. He then took it over to Paris, where it sat on the River Seine just below the Eiffel Tower. He cut off the funnel on the top deck and turned it into a floating restaurant. We brought it back here to Belfast. We quite recently just spent £9 million having it completely restored, and if you have any interest in the Titanic whatsoever, that little ship to your left, the SS Nomadic, is a must visit while you're here in the city. Directly in front of us, the large silver building that is now the Titanic Museum. I recommend a minimum of 1.5 to 2 hours, and saying that you could easily spend the whole day inside the Titanic Visitor Centre. We will be stopping outside it in just a few minutes. Look across to your left hand side and you'll see all the steel beams sticking up out of the ground. They go around the two concrete slipways, number 3 and number 4. There originally used to be 28 slipways in this area, but that's all that's left to this day. The one closest to us is where the Titanic was launched from. The one furthest away from us is where her sister ship, the Olympic, was launched from. To give you an idea of the size of the Titanic, she was just over 900 feet in length. She was 95 feet wide. She weighed 46,000 tons. She was driven by 3 massive bronze propellers, each propeller 23 feet diameter, and each propeller weighing just over 5 tons in weight. So it gives you an idea of how big the Titanic actually was. Now we're just going to turn here in the turning circle, and then we will be stopping outside the Titanic Visitor Centre. But as we make our turn, you can't help but notice the two big large yellow cranes, Samson and Goliath. They straddle the world's largest dry dock. That dry dock can accommodate any ship afloat in the world today. Samson stands at 96 metres tall. Goliath stands at 110 metres tall. If necessary, they can lift 840 tons each. The red box on top of the cranes that used to be the canteen for the workers, and those, believe it or not, are going to be turned into glass restaurants. So how would you fancy coming out of there at about 5 o'clock in the morning with about 10 pints of Guinness in you? How are you going to get down? That's not a problem. You look at the very far side of the cranes, you'll see a big thick yellow leg, and there's actually a lift that takes you up and down the inside of it, and that's how we're going to get you up and down. And that's not just pie in the sky, folks, but if you wanted pie in the sky, that would be the place to go. Now we're just going to stop here outside the Titanic Visitor Centre. If anyone would like to get off here, if anyone is bored with the tour, could I please have women and children first, please?